What's good? What's good? Not all the war in the world, but that's not the topic of the video. It's kind of connected though. I have avoided just even mentioning or talking about like the whole Andrew Tate drama. And then there's also the Russell Brand drama. I've just avoided all of that because I think, in one sense, it is a distraction and I just don't want to give air to it. But on this thing, I will. I'll evoke the distraction to try and make a normal person point. I saw a clip of Andrew Tate saying that depression is not real. And then he goes on his like alpha male super rant thingy majig. Man, he is just something else. Like, I don't want to make this about him. I want to make this about depression. And a lot of my videos lately have been kind of bummer, and I acknowledge that. I'm sorry for anyone who has to suffer through it, but you chose to do so. Moving on, because I absolutely experience some kind of insane forms of depression. It's so hard to explain. Um, but like I'll just give an example. For like this morning, I woke up and I just like the moment I woke up, the moment that like sentience re-entered my physical body, I was overwhelmed with uncomfortable sensations, anxiety. We could just call it generalized anxiety because I'm dreading my day. I'm dreading existence. I'm just dreading it. And I think a lot of that is connected to my environment. I don't have a good life environment in terms of my living situation is a stress, because it's expensive and not like awesome. My job situation is a stress. I really don't like my boss, and I know that's a common thing. And I do have a master's degree in business administration. My emphasis was in change leadership. And so I know a thing or two about organizational culture. And I can tell you that beyond money, the biggest reason people leave a job is a bad boss. And it stinks because I actually like the job itself, but my boss just ruins it for me. And so my living situation is suboptimal. My job situation is suboptimal. Like I don't have any purpose outside of like my job. And so there's a connection there as well, like this lack of purpose. I have a big purpose in terms of I understand I have an ability to contribute to the elevation of the collective consciousness. Like boom, yeah, purpose right there. But that's like meta. That's meta purpose, which is something that just gradually sort of happens as you're going through your sort of personal purpose on your personal path. When you're being the change you want to see in the world, when you're just embodying the values of someone seeking enlightenment naturally and organically, that brings about the contribution to the collective consciousness. And I don't feel like I'm doing that sort of personal level contribution because all I do is wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, repeat. And like even at work, I'm not bringing my best, most authentic self because of the environment. And so I know I experience depression. I know I don't have any motivation to find like like it's not that I don't have motivation. It's just that I feel like every path in front of me is the wrong path. And it's really discouraging. And I can go back in time 10 years ago when I was 26 and I was doing competitive powerlifting. And so when I was 26, I was doing competitive powerlifting. I had a corporate professional job and I was working on my master's degree. I knew how to like be structured and, execute. I knew how to execute and I had a vision and it was awesome. Like I still was unhappy and there was definitely some latent trauma that I think I actually used my trauma as a fuel to be an overachiever in my 20s. But I'm a different person in so many ways now, and part of who I am now is experiences these really really depressing thoughts. And I've made other videos. I like passive suicidality is something that might be peripheral to what I experience. Oh, and I'm gonna go to a weird place here just because it's kind of relevant. um I'm seeing patterns. I see patterns, right? And there is definitely an increase in anti Semitic propaganda or anti Semitic um, feelings. People, I'm seeing more and more people present anti Semitic views and positions. And I'll just be totally honest, full disclosure. People I know have sent me, like being part of the underground, you get like the non-mainstream videos and whatnot. And I've been sent by people some really interesting content. And not that I'm not saying I believe it. What I'm saying, when you put a person like me in my position, who's just really discouraged in so many ways, who lacks hope for a future, that is the perfect environment for radicalization and for extremism. And so I always talk about how there are psyops being executed to intentionally divide people. And I'm seeing this particular psyop winning within a group of people who I thought were more open and awakened. And it's unfortunate. It just, the social engineers have shifted their strategy a little bit and it's working. And that's how it's a game of maneuver, right? Position and maneuver, as Gramsci would say. And so they have maneuvered successfully. But I think we will eventually counter back. But it's going to be a wild ride. And so it's really unfortunate that there are so many people in a position like mine who are susceptible to hate, who are susceptible to outrage, who are susceptible to sort of like this extremism. And that is why I always talk about the answer is eliminating the government, because the government is the central, you could call it the central operating mechanism of the greater peripheral, what one might call the deep state or the military industrial complex, um, or the institutions that the ruling classes use to manipulate the masses. That's what I like. The government is sort of like the central agency or the tool that sort of allows the peripheral activity to happen. I'm a very visual like thinker and a conceptual thinker. Um, and I wish people would take more time to get to know people and how they think and then engage or try to engage with them on their level. Just dialogue between people of opposing views is gone nowadays. It's unfortunate. I envy people like James Lindsay, who can just like tell you like what page and what paragraph certain pieces of information are on. People who can index information like that, I envy, because it's hard for me to learn history and dates and shit like that. For me, it's more of like conceptual and mechanism level. There's a word Carl Jung uses, it's circumambulate. I can literally like take an idea and I walk around it in my head and look at it from so many different perspectives. And I love doing that. And so the government right here, the central agency, this mechanism that grants authority to this institution over here, and that grants funding to this institution over here, and that creates this institution over here, and that partners with this agency over here, and this agency and this organization, right? That that is the mechanism that enables all of the weird corruption and collusion. that enables the manipulation of our minds, that encourages the manipulation of our mind, because the further fuel that just Medusa head of a fucking nightmare, you need manipulated people, because a non-manipulated person is going to be living from a place of love, a love-centered existence, not a fear-centered existence. And when you're coming from a love-centered place of existence, you're not going to fall for the propaganda, and you're not going to hate someone because of a difference in maybe their color of skin or their religion. But then also, like, religion and that institution, it's a whole nother mess, but it's also peripheral to the government. Okay, there would still be war, there would still be violence, the world would not be a utopia without the government. There would just be substantially less of all of the above, in my personal opinion. That really wasn't the point of the video, but it was definitely connected, because I'm like, just I know I'm laughing and whatnot, but I'm like angry. I'm so fucking angry. And if you've watched my older videos, you see that anger. I don't hide it, or rather, it's not even that I'm hiding it. It's I am actively working to resolve my anger issues. Like, how do you resolve justified anger? That's a really good question. How do you resolve justified anger? Because that's also part of my depression. When you're witnessing crimes against humanity, that's justifiable anger. How do you resolve that within yourself? How do you just go about your day to day life? Doo-doo-doo. Like, it blows my mind. And so I don't really know what the point of this video is, to say, Andrew Tate, you're wrong. And it's like really easy for someone who has used extraordinarily immoral methods to obtain insane amounts of wealth to say that depression isn't real, because you have no fucking moral compass. So, like, and I understand you're on this redemption arc. And you know what? I'll give you a shot in a few years, but like at the beginning of a redemption arc, you're going to have to just deal with criticism. In a few years, if you were like legitimately devout, and I think you're a Muslim, right? And you've changed and all of that, we'll see. But for right now, you're still really much a part of the problem. Not that you're going to see this anyways, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to end it there. I have to go to my job. Meh. Much love, y'all.